Attention, please. It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Daniel.
I'm from that dirt. I'm all about that dirt. I'm throwing dirt. I miss that dirt. Gotta get back to I'm a dirt trackaholic. Call it what you call it. Saturday night, I am so Kenny Wallace on that dirt. I miss that dirt. Gotta get back to it. I've been the Kenny Wallace of the rap game. Ever since I hit him with that dirt track thing. Now nationwide, everybody knows my name. They're like, mama, that's Kenny Montgomery. He sings that song we like. Yeah, boy, that's me. Roll out the trailer, I'm flossing. Them Hoosier tires glossing. Them cold kind we're tossing. They know I came to wreck it, yet I rarely bring out a caution. I hit the high side, boy, I park it for Brian Clausen. I do them like Kyle Larson. Watch me throw them sliders. Party in Victory Lane, and y'all boys ain't invited. Your mama gets excited when I pull up to unload. Even your grandpa talking about, man, that boy too cold. We don't sit on 24s, we don't ride on spinners. I'm posted up on them 15s with...
Yep, we're back at it again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dirt 360 TV's podcast of another episode, the Road to the Grand Nationals and the UAS Grand Nationals there in Hunterstown, Pennsylvania. Man, I've been talking to this guy for a while. He's been extremely busy, but I have him on the show tonight. You might know him as Rich. I know him as the new guy, bearded guy. Kind of, I'm kind of following him, but not as much. All the way from York, Pennsylvania, this man needs no introduction. Also, driving the UAS. What's going on, Mr. Rich Diem? How are you, buddy?
I am good. I am real good.
Brother, man, it is a pleasure to talk to you. We talked off and on there, in the last few weeks. And we finally got you on the show, man. You weren't busy. Sorry it's so late, 9 o'clock your time. We're trying to get some of the people. It's awesome. One, it's awesome to have you guys from Pennsylvania and, the guys that are going to the Road to the Grand Nationals and to the UAS Grand Nationals and stuff there in September. But it's cool in how hospitality you guys are like 9 o'clock. Not a problem, dude. It's cool. Let's do an hour of this stuff and I'll go to bed. But you guys have been such hospitality and everything else. You're just, wow. I got people messaging me on this side too. Maybe I should turn this down. York, Pennsylvania, is apparently where we're staying because inside of Gettysburg or anything like 20 minutes, from Gettysburg, didn't realize y'all have civil battles in August and September is your guys' biggest, declaration of let's go kill people in a field. So it's like $250 a night to stay.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
We thank God we have Best Western and Holiday Inn Express. We've traveled so much that the Best Western there in York, Pennsylvania is where we're staying. So you said it's about what 20-30 minutes or so from the track?
Yeah, it's about that. More like 30.
And we have to pass Lincoln Speedway to get there.
You will
drive
past it. It's half a mile from Route 30. So
my understanding is that after the races, we're all jumping in someone's van. I don't know whose, but we're all apparently going to Lincoln Speedway.
Oh, well, that's good.
Doesn't hurt my feelings any to go watch some sprint car racing. So
yeah, no, it's a cool track.
How the hell are you, brother?
I am well.
Good. How's the weather?
hot, and
That's good.
and more hot.
You know, we don't talk about the R word, you know, because that has been the Achilles heel of you guys there in Pennsylvania. Hopefully, the weather forecast when we get there is going to be a good mild 75, maybe 80 degrees. I can handle that. Is that a good estimate for back there?
September, I wouldn't think that in August. September, I could see that in September.
All right, so we're good for the Nationals. It being a little bit cooler.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So you're telling me I'm going to have
probably
even
be 90 that day because I said, yeah, it'll be cooler.
That's awesome. Talk to us a little bit about, man, you started racing. I mean, basically, kind of when you were 15 years old. Kind of explain a little bit from when you were 15. You wrenched on some cars and then went out and found a speedway that was close to you. And kind of talk about your history of that real quick.
Well, yeah, when I was 15, I started in a street stock 6-cylinder class at a local track there. And I did that for a few years and got basically involved with life, and then came back and was wrenching on some friends' cars, and then got a ride with a 1200cc mini sprint at that same track, which was probably twice the speed of that 6-cylinder street.
Now we're talking about Hamlin Speedway, right?
That was actually, that track was called Makatech Speedway.
Okay. And where was that located?
About Lakeville, PA was the town that was in.
Okay.
But it was really between two real towns, Hamlin and Hawley, halfway between. It's just a little borough, Lakeville. But and that track has since closed up. And then basically wrenched on dirt modifieds up there. And then 96, I got back into, KT racing.
Now you told me and stuff that you traveled from Southeast Pennsylvania to basically was it New Jersey to go build and wrench on modifieds?
Well, it was the northeast corner of PA, over in the northern part of New Jersey. Basically, the counties connected each other, but it was 70 miles to work.
That's crazy.
Basically, it was building the chassis for the TO modifieds, cut, notch, bend, weld.
Now, is that the modifieds? Is that the pro modifieds where you sit in the middle?
No, it's a northeast dirt modified. You sit in the middle. You sit in the middle. But it's a little different than the IMCA modifieds. It's what you see in the Midwest.
Yep, or UMP and all that type of stuff. Yeah.
It's a little different than that. It's pretty much it's born and lives in the Northeast. Big block modifieds. A lot of people on big block modifieds.
That's how I know them.
Yeah, that's how you would know them. And that's what I did. Worked for Bobby there, building them chassis until we moved to York in
nice
99 or 2000. We moved here.
So you got into once you kind of left out a little bit in 1997. 36 years old, kind of getting into karting in 97. And we're not trying to throw your age and like that, but you started at 36 years old and said, "Screw it, I'm gonna buy me a KT and go turn circles."
Yeah, well, it was kind of handed to me. One of the guys I wrenched with, a good buddy of mine, does all the powder coating and stuff. And the track owner there, his father used to run Makatech a lot. And then when Makatech closed, he opened that track, Hamlin Speedway. And and they were going to run them. And one of the guys that did the powder coating there, Brian, he had a buddy of his that had the KT and said, "Hey, you want to ride? You can run that." And well, that's where it started. It's like once you get in it, you're going like, "Okay, I need this."
Right. And then you said something about you spent several years because you only got into the UAS here just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a long history of KT stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. It, and I mean, I was building chassis and motors and with a dyno and the whole deal. I mean, I was into the KT pretty big. And
Right.
one of the co-racers that I raced with decided to get into a sprint car. He wanted to start sprint car racing. So with the background that I had, he pretty much roped me into it, and we just backed out of the KT and just put all that stuff in the loft. You know.
So what?
A few years.
I mean, did it kind of? I mean, was it kind of depressing that that you weren't racing no more and you're kind of back to wrenching and all that type of stuff?
Well, yes and no. I didn't mind not spending the money.
Right. I believe that one.
And actually, coming, getting paid to go. And, a lot of that was Lincoln and Williams Grove. And then, it was probably 5 or 6 years of doing that. And then he just, he backed out of it because of the money, it was a money thing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So, but it was something that he always wanted to do. It was something that he wanted to do from a kid, and he was good in the kart. So, and he was good in the sprint car too. A couple of weeks, but he got good in the sprint car too. So did
you have any family or whatever like that was into racing, or was it just one day you just kind of went, you know what, I just want to get into this?
No, no family directly into it. No, it was more the local stuff. That Makatech racetrack, that's the track that you have a track that you go to on the weekends that you grew up with, and that was it. So
right.
You have your heroes and et cetera, and so it was I mean, it that's kind of what started it, and then wrenching on all the big cars all the time, but I had no desire to ever get in a modified, probably because my budget would never have allowed it.
Come on now. You can't afford the $80,000 big block motor. Come on. I mean, you can just refinance the house. I mean, that's what everybody else does, right?
Yeah. And the $500,000 toter to get it there,
Yeah, why not? That's just it's just money.
Yeah.
Just money.
Yeah.
Karting seemed
say something about that.
Speaking of your wife, what did your wife think about when you told her, you came home and said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy me a go-kart"? What did she think?
Well, actually, I was working on the house, and that feed came up on my Facebook, and
tell it.
And
I was going to get to that.
I showed her the ad, and she said, you've been working really hard on this house. Go ahead and do it.
So to give a history of what you're talking about is that you had a house fire that literally destroyed your house, destroyed everything. And while you're building it, basically piece by piece by yourself, you're doing everything yourself. You see a Facebook ad that says, "Hey," and it just kind of has all these little sprinkles and lights and come here. It's the addiction. And when you click on it, it's just kind of like, it just kind of reels you in. I mean, was she pretty understanding by it? And I mean, was it just something that you were just going to do a couple times, or? No. She knew I wanted to get back into it while I still can, Right.
I mean, I'll be 64 in August. So
don't tell nobody that. You still look young.
That's fine. I don't care. That's fine. I'm in good shape for where I am, but it's something I wanted to do while I still can,
Right.
So that's what it is.
I mean, it almost kind of puts that little dot, in the not the question mark or the parentheses or whatever, or the quotation, when you sit there and you say that you're 67 years old and you're still out there, still whooping on some of these youngsters. Now, is that just because you're too stubborn to give up, or is it just because, I not like rude, or is it just like screw it? It's just, that you just have the skill to do it.
Yeah, it's more entertainment, really. It's an enjoyment, and I've wrenched for a lot of drivers over the years,
Right.
And
Right.
it's so they could go out and have fun on the track. So it's time, basically I have the stuff to do it, and I'm healthy enough to do it. So
What do you Danielle? Do you know a Danielle?
yeah, my daughter-in-law. Yep.
She says yes, he is stubborn.
No.
We love again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, we're here with Rich Diem out of York, Pennsylvania. He's going to be driving the UAS he's going to be driving a 450 in the UAS Grand Nationals, and of course the road to the Grand Nationals. I'm assuming you're going to be there. That's a quarter points race and stuff if you haven't got them in yet. If you could give advice, you're up there, you've been doing this for a couple days now. If you could give your advice to some of the younger drivers coming up through the ranks, what would be your advice?
Get on a tire program. Get a tire program that really works, because literally the kart setup is probably 10% of what you need, and the tire program is 90%.
And we were just, off air, we were talking to a racer that kind of needs a little bit of help or whatever. We got him, attached to you. We won't say who it is just in case.
Yeah.
But and that was the biggest thing that you were talking about, is tire program, because like here on the West Coast compared to East Coast or Midwest or whatever, everybody has their own. Now it's a challenge coming from, like the West Coast or Midwest to come back to PA and not have a practice on Friday, because every time that we've been to a Grand National, we've always had a practice on Friday, which gives everybody that time to, prep your tires or find out what's going to work, if it's going to be Maxxis or Vegas or Dunlop or whatever the case is.
Right.
That's going to be a huge Achilles heel. I mean, it's going to be a blessing and stuff for the PA guys, the people that run Hunterstown. But it's definitely going to show, some of these real top dogs that come from other places, how really good their program is.
Yeah. Well, I can say this, they could come most any Saturday night, because we run the class every Saturday night.
And that's what we're talking about with the guy a little bit earlier off camera. Was I think they're going to come out during a points deal, where there's no pressure, no nothing, and at least to get some seat time and stuff out there. Is that what you recommend to some of these guys prior to the prelude?
I do, just to kind of get a feel of. Now, when it gets to the prelude, the track will be a little bit more bodier. And then primarily because of the number of karts. The more karts, the more bite that track gets.
More prep, more
rubber,
everything.
Prep, and it'll get a black line. I was talking with Ron today. He was actually over here, and he was telling me when it comes to the UAS National, there could be 2 and 3 lanes wide, and it's black from bottom to bottom up. So because there's so many karts out there running it in, and rubber and prep, so it gets. I haven't seen it, but I will. I'm sure.
We were talking, and I still got to reach out to Mike Lane. He's amazing and stuff. I can't say enough good things about Mike Lane. But last time the UAS was there for a Grand National was back in 2018. Unfortunately, they had the huge hurricane come through Florida, Georgia, all that type of stuff. So a lot of those guys from South didn't make it up there. So it's predicted, now this is just air quotes, is predicted to have close to 60 UAS karts there. That is insane. On top of, the champ karts, the KTs, the clones, all the filler classes and stuff too. It is going to be an outstanding weekend.
It's going to be it's actually going to be crazy because we have the Clyde Little Memorial that same
The
same
memorial.
time,
Yep.
and a Run What You Brung class on top of it. There's going to be a lot of cards. Really, and,
So
Go ahead.
knowing that going into it, and I'm sure a lot of the guys and stuff from Florida and all that, all the East Coast guys and probably some from the Midwest are going to be there for the road to the Grand Nationals. What are your aspects of the stuff about it? I mean, what do you think about going into this?
Well, that's kind of what I've been doing every week. Just getting more comfortable, getting the cart better. 2-3 weeks ago now, I backed my cart into the wall at a track, and
that's not
kind of
good.
got hooked on the back straightaway and looped it around, and that was at 72 mile an hour. And
oh dear Lord!
So needless to say, it trashed the chassis. I mean, it bent it back.
I'm sure it did.
I survived pretty well, actually. No broken bones or anything, so that was pretty good. So I'm chasing down a brand new chassis now. So changing some carburetor issues that I had, and brand new chassis. So I'm been shaking that down the last couple of weeks, but it's getting pretty good now.
So let's talk about your transition from KT into the UAS. What realistically got you saying, hey man, I kind of want to step up and do this UAS deal?
Basically because the competition in KT was on most given nights, you're probably hopeful just to finish third.
Oh really?
Yeah, because of the there's 3 teams there that they're just so dominant that it's just crazy.
So you thought about from running, top 3, and you said, "Oh, screw it, I'm going to go to the higher and bigger class and run UAS."
Yeah, because we didn't. When I was running Hunterstown all the time, the KT they had an open class. But
right.
I ran the KT in regular class, and then my son would get in that same cart and run in the open class with it, and he could do really well because they were just had the back ends hung out, and he could just drive around the corner,
Right.
So he could do pretty well in that. But now when I was out getting back into it and seeing what they're running and stuff, and like. Oh yeah! All right, that's cool. That is cool.
So what made you once you got into the UAS and stuff? What made you want to, instead of running the 250, running the 450? Why do you want to run the 4-stroke?
Well, one, that's the one that I bought, and it was it runs good, and
right.
But at Hunterstown, that big motor is a challenge. It's a challenge.
Well, talk a little bit about that. What's the biggest challenge that you have with it?
Your turn entry speed, you can over enter. In other words, you can hit speeds in a heartbeat that you just will not stick the corner. So you really
not enough tire prep or like that's going to help you.
Oh my God! Yeah, I'd have to put a pair of right rears on it, to stick the right rear. Yeah, but yeah, so you really have to drive it, and power brake it. You're dragging the brake and holding the power and the whole deal. And just getting a timing thing set to do that.
Right.
So
now, would you say that
you really have to drive
it?
It's not just flat foot and hold the steering wheel and drive around.
Okay, so that was my question. Yeah, do you believe that Hunterstown is a more of a driving track? Like you literally have to be up on top of your game instead of just kind of following the leader type deal.
Yeah. You especially with the higher horsepower, the KT for the most part, you're going and you're gonna blip it at the apex and then continue You're not going to have to break entry or anything like that. The KT is you're going to blip it, maybe roll out of the throttle, depending on the night. Roll out of the throttle a little on entry, or just blip it at entry. Blip it at the apex. But the 450, you got to drive it. I mean, you're gonna lift and get it on your mark in the corner, because if you miss your mark, you got your hands full.
Just heard, here a couple episodes ago, is that the new track record is an 8.9. My understanding is a little over 80 plus miles an hour. It's an attention getter.
Yeah, well, it is. It is. I don't know if it's 80, but it's up there, and that is that 8.9 is carrying good speed through the corner.
And how big is that track?
I think it's considered a fifth.
A fifth mile? Okay. Is that a fifth mile in the middle or a fifth mile the outside?
Fifth mile the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, fifth mile the middle. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's what it's considered.
Right.
It's the low nines is very normal. Very normal.
Right. Well, we have Ron Pritt coming on the show next Tuesday.
Okay.
About the same time. We're going to try about 8:30ish or so to get some of the people there on the East Coast and some of the people here, of course, on the West Coast. I mean, our time's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But to try to get some of the guys there on the East Coast that might have some questions, and that's definitely why we want to kind of get Mike Lane into this and everything else too. Is if people have questions, we were talking about missing out on quarter points races and all that type of stuff, and some here on the West Coast it's kind of hard because we don't have that many places to go and race. Midwest has a little bit more, and of course back east where you guys are at, you got 47 tracks and a 20-mile radius. In 86 series, which is good. Don't get me wrong. But it's harder for some of the guys here on the West Coast that are coming out there to do some of the stuff. So we'll talk to Mike Lane. We'll talk about rules. We'll talk about kind of how things are going to go, how they're going to lay out. I know talking with Ron, and this is just through just some conversation, he'll probably clarify a lot of it. Is that UAS, of course, is primary. The Memorial race, of course, is primary. But he's going to try to get every single thing in, but they also have a time curfew also. That's why they're starting earlier, and that's, to try to, break that curfew type deal or whatever, because my understanding it's a state park. So that's the reason why we can't, practice on Friday. Is that correct?
No, it's not a state park. It's a local park. A recreational.
Okay.
Park.
Okay.
But the Friday and the curfew and everything is a township thing. That's the township said. Hey, here's what you're not going to do.
Right.
And this is what we will allow you to do. So that's kind of what it's about.
Who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to talk to? If we can swindle them or if we can swindle them to get a Friday, if we can get a Friday practice, I'm sure we're changing flight plans because we're gonna, and I'm sure a lot of people will be happy if we can get a Friday practice. But it's so you've had a lot of history and stuff with Hunterstown, and of course with Ron and all that type of stuff. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, back when I was running KT there full time, his son Andy raced, and we raced together. And then back at the time, I took care of all their motors. I did their KTs, and a few others.
Right.
So that's. Like I said, I've known Ron 20 plus years. He was actually over here today, taking care of a 4-wheeler issue that he had. But that's he's been at this track forever.
Right.
His father is one of the founders of this track. So, his father and Clyde and a few other names that, forgive me for not, mentioning them because I just, I wasn't there then. But
right.
It's I mean, it's just part of his family. It's the roots.
So
they're his roots.
Throughout the years and stuff that you've been at Hunterstown, what is the biggest thing that you've seen, either growth or change or something like that's kind of stuck with you?
Actually, how strong of a KT class this track is. It always was a very strong two-stroke class back in McCullough's and et cetera. And then the KTs came about, and it has never lost the popularity for KT. A lot of tracks they'll have KTs and then all of a sudden there's only one or two showing up and they drop it, and then all of a sudden then there's another wave interest of KTs, and but this track has always been strong on KTs.
Very nice.
Which is what they do. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have some big clone classes too. I mean, there's there's a lot of big. I mean, on a normal night, there's 170 carts there.
That's
in different classes.
That's crazy. That's I mean to be honest, I mean we're lucky enough to get 60 to 80. I mean that's a strong one here on the West Coast. It's just not as popular, and that's where we're trying to a lot of people back here are trying to bring the karting and stuff back. It's just not as strong as Midwest and back east. When I was talking to Renee Angel, I just had her on the other night. She moved from the West Coast and then moved to Tennessee and absolutely loves it back there because she can go anywhere within 2 hours and hit 12 tracks. She can hit every single series if she wants. She could do all that type of stuff. And I said, "What's the biggest thing that you've seen?" She goes, she went back to Talladega for Talladega short track, and there's close to 500 clones. 500. Now, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but she said there are so many of them that it was and that's all there was. It was just clones. And she goes, it was insane. She goes, their whole program here is way different than what ours is here on the West Coast. Yeah. And I said, what was the biggest thing? And she goes right back to what you're saying. Tires. It is tire management, tires.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, this area is strong in racing because we're close to Lincoln, close to Williams Grove, close to Selinsgrove, and these are all big car tracks. It's all sprint car stuff. I mean,
right.
There's I'm not sure on the exact number right now, but I'm going to say 4 to 6 outlaw teams right here in the area.
Like professional outlaw teams, like world outlaw teams.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you have the PA Posse, which is almost 30 teams.
Right.
So a sprint car is huge here.
We're gonna get into some of these questions and stuff here. Marshall didn't say nothing, but sent us picture. Thank you, Marshall, for that. Danielle says, I missed 11 races. That's 11 11s in points and still got second place in points, Mike.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
That was when we were running I was running the KT, and then he was running in the open class. Okay. So he actually missed 11 races and still finished.
Out of how many?
Out of I'm going to say 20, maybe 22, somewhere in there.
Gosh darn, that's awesome.
So
right.
I mean, we have a long season. Our season starts in April, first week of April.
And goes all the way until
October.
September, October. Okay.
The end of October.
I mean, you realistically only have like three months, really, 3 months or whatever like that off, 4 months off.
Yeah. You call it winter. We haven't had much snow here in the last few years.
Right.
We get some ice in February, but we haven't had much snow. So, but yeah.
So do you guys actually do indoor racing?
There's in Harrisburg Arena, the farm show arena, they do the concrete Coke syrup racing.
That's the barn, right?
No, it's the state Pennsylvania State Farm Show Arena. It's a pretty really big complex and stuff, and they put on a race called or an event called Motorama, and there's quarter midgets. I mean, it's a big deal. Right. And then they run the concrete Coke syrup. Ron's working on doing some indoor dirt deals, hopefully for this winter. Which
maybe I can swindle Ron or whatever like that to bring us back and film one of those shows. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that is cool. It's like I said, he had one place lined up and then that kind of fell through. So, but you got to touch base with him because I don't know what
right.
and I really think at this point it's I want to do it. I just got to find a place to do it.
Right, exactly.
At this point, but
he
find a place, he'll do it.
He by far, I mean, we've been so blessed on having, just everywhere we've been, from Williamsburg with Misty, Spokane, I mean, the North versus South with those guys. It is little Regina. Everywhere we've been has been so awesome and so hospitality and stuff to us. It's kind of almost surreal that that we've got into this and kind of got bigger and kind of grown and stuff with you guys or whatever. And dealing with Ron, he's so awesome, so humble. I mean, by far, he's like, okay, what do you need? Okay, yep, okay, we'll go do this. Okay, what do you need? I'm like, okay, yep, we're gonna go do that. What do you need? And I'm like, it's just awesome to be able to to have that type of respect for you guys. I mean, we again can't thank you guys enough. The UAS definitely for bringing us out and being a part of it, and of course everybody there at Hunterstown, and of course the drivers. This is something that we love doing. I mean, showcasing you guys from young to old, good to bad. It's awesome. Since we're coming back to York, Pennsylvania, and the first race, we're going to fly in on Friday, film on Saturday, leave on Sunday. But we're coming back and we're going to have a couple days that are free for the Grand Nationals. I'm going to bring both of my boys back, my 8 and 6-year-old. I really want to take them to like the Gettysburg battlefield and all that type of stuff. What are some of the cool places to go and see as like a tourist?
They have a national at Gettysburg National Park. The whole deal's national park, but they have a facility, building, etc., which gives you the whole tour, and it's a museum kind of thing. I can't think of the name of it right off now. It's part of the national park system, though. That's an absolute must see. And then because you want to do that before you do the battlefields, because it runs the whole history for you. And then when you're out at the battlefields, what you learned there clicks, so you can actually look at the battlefield and actually imagine what these soldiers did.
Right.
It'll set you back. You really get the feel of it. But is there
a name of the place or anything like that? Or I can get it from you and stuff too.
Yeah, just Google it. Okay. It's it's there on the grounds, and it's a museum. You'll do the tour and you'll see the different different battles, and then they actually have some animation screens
of what it was like. Okay.
Yeah, and the story and the history and the explanation and the whole deal, and and they do guided tours there.
That's something I think I might like too.
Yeah, they do. There's a bunch of guided tours, and the smaller the group, the more you'll get out of it.
Right.
They do guided tours on a bus, and that's all well and good. But when you get to the smaller tours, it's more one-on-one, and
See, I like something like
cool.
that.
If you're on the East Coast, I mean, there's so much national history there that and if you're here, you can't not go.
Right.
You need to go.
Jody says, "Hi, Rich. I'm still awake."
We were making a joke before, it's about our bedtime, and I said, yeah, I can't. I can't. That's my granddaughter there, Taylor.
Can't wait to get in the car.
Yeah. So, but I said to her, she goes, yeah, it's going to be late, and I was like, yeah, well, it's past my bedtime too, so there might be some yawning involved.
The medium is awesome. The diorama is awesome. And then she says ghost tours.
Oh,
ghost tours?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's
I like
I don't
spook.
know if
Like
they start any of the ghost tours in September. I don't know. You'd have to Google that. But
because it's too hot.
October, prior to Halloween and everything, they do a lot of ghost tours, and you don't have to be a believer in ghosts to.
So things really happen.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it is
get out of here.
Staging is the staging.
Right.
Actually, if you open your mind and you actually put yourself into the way they're talking,
right.
But nevertheless, it just shows you the lives that were lost.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's the biggest thing, for my boys is that we went back to Williamsburg. They came back, got some good educational stuff there. We did the trifecta, the Mississippi, Kentucky, Iowa, trifecta where the river comes together. We saw some of that. We, got into Mississippi. It's just a simple fact that if we can educate some of our young, and they can bring that back, the knowledge, at least it's a good trip and stuff for them to sit there and say, hey, I went back to Gettysburg. Like I went and saw some of this type of stuff or whatever.
It was there.
Yeah. And
Yep.
It's just a blessing to be able to share some of that and travel and do what we do, for quote work. This ain't work, man. This is so much fun. It's stressful behind the camera. Sometimes it's during production, it can be stressful. Try not to let anybody else know about it, but it can be stressful. But to have that, everything's great. But it's to take them and then bring them back. Gettysburg is kind of where this whole nation started. The Confederacy. I hate to go back there and say that I'm a Yankee because apparently Washington, Oregon, or whatever like that, we're really nothing. We're just mutts. So if you kind of get from there, then you become a Yankee. I just don't want to get shot by a Confederate.
No, but there's one thing for sure. Gettysburg. I mean, you can drive through Gettysburg at any time, any time of the year, any time of the day, and you see a lot of tourism. I mean,
really?
A lot of people walking the grounds and crossing because Route 30 goes right through it. So and if you're going west from here, you can go on up to Harrisburg and down 81, or you can just go across 30, and you're going to save yourself probably 20 miles just driving across 30.
Right. Now, the other biggest thing we want to do, besides Gettysburg or whatever, like Washington, D.C., want to go see the White House. I just want to see the White House. I don't want to see the guy that's in it, but I want to see the White House. We got to be politically correct on the show. It's kind of like it's a PG-13 show.
Yeah, there's been a lot of people in the White House, good, bad, and indifferent.
Absolutely, that is correct, sir. It
didn't change the appearance of the outside of the building.
Love you, man.
So it's
absolutely.
It's still part of our country, regardless.
That's right. Regardless,
inside.
That's right. And that's 100% correct. We don't do political. We don't. You ain't gonna change somebody's feelings or their beliefs over dinner.
No.
If that's the case.
And there's a lot of strong feelings both directions. So
100%.
Hey, that's your views. That's fine. Mine are
Yes,
different.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How far away from like Washington D.C. is great? Lots to see. Maybe I should put that up there. Whatever. Jody says DC is great. Lots to see. See, that's the thing is that because we're not that far. We're only like an hour and a half or so away from DC.
Yeah, hour 15, something like that.
See,
just run
that's
down 15.
So if we go DC, because this is what I was thinking is that we have a full if the R word doesn't happen, we have a full day, on Sunday. So can we do, Gettysburg and then see DC or is that something that we might have to
that's gonna be
have
tough.
2 days?
Yeah, that's tough. You can lose the whole day at Gettysburg in a heartbeat.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, in a heartbeat.
Oh, wow.
And DC, you're not going to see. You're going to see a couple things in DC. You can see the White House and a couple. The museums are free in DC.
Right.
So seeing some of them is cool. Our one son lived in DC for quite a while, so when we go down there, he gave us the way to go and the way not to go, the roads to get on and the roads not to be on. You know what I mean?
Now,
so
is there a ton of toll roads down there?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, because somebody said that they're because we're flying into Baltimore up to you guys. They said, well, once you get into like DC, there's like a ton of toll roads. I'm like, okay.
No, it's not so much. Yeah, she said the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. If you're going to DC, the aquarium on the Inner Harbor of Baltimore, you're going basically right past it.
What is the Inner Harbor aquarium?
That's the aquarium, Maryland. It's a state aquarium there in the Inner Harbor.
Okay.
That's easy 4, 5, 6 hours to
gosh
through that place.
We might just have to take like a whole vacation and stuff back there.
There is a lot. It's when you live here, you don't go to too much of that.
Of course.
But over the last few years, Sandy and I have made it a point to, we're going to do some of this because, it's here, it's close.
Right. Right.
So we've been doing a lot of that.
So back to why we're here. UAS Grand Nationals are coming up. You're running the 450 and the UAS. Are you going to be running the KT also, or just focusing just on the UAS?
I'm going to focus on the UAS primarily.
Okay.
And we were just talking about that today about running the Clyde, the Clyde Memorial.
Right, with the Yamaha.
Yeah. It's just, it's a lot,
absolutely.
It's a lot to stay focused, on. So the KT is going to be, it's going to come with me because if nothing else, it can be a good backup.
Right.
So, so we'll just have to see how it goes,
So what other good advice can you give some of these guys that are coming from out of state that that can't come to the road, right? And that are just going to be there just for the Grand Nationals. What is some of the advice that you can give these guys? You give away the trade secrets, of course, but if you could give them something, what are they looking at by coming there? What are they looking to get into? Speed, it's corners,
fast,
all that stuff.
It's fast, it's quick. You got to hit your mark. You get a little high, and you can get your hands full. You got to respect the fact that you're going to have to lift and try and keep it back down, get it back down, get back in the groove.
What is
for the national? I really kind of expect being able to race through the corner too wide, being at least two good grooves, and maybe the third would be like if you just catch it, you'll be all right, But
Right.
3 and 4, I don't see you running 3 grooves at 3 and 4, because coming off of 4, you really have to pay attention that you don't walk out to the wall.
Now, my understanding too is that both the turns are kind of they're different from each other. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are. You can, to come off good on 4, you're going to sweep the entry of 3 a little high, but in doing that, you leave a hole.
Right.
So, you have to, your senses have to know that there's not somebody going to drive under you going into 3.
Okay.
Otherwise, you really have to put it on the rubber, and you kill some speed when you do that. But you gotta run a turn like that.
What is the number one thing that you're looking to get out of being at your very first UAS Grand National?
Just making the show, being my home track, and
right.
Having a good cart under me. I mean, it's fast. It's it's fast. So and it's a new chassis, and got some of the motor issues, carburation issues solved. So now it's a matter of just getting a good
what chassis are you running? If you don't mind me asking.
A new Charger. I got
a new Charger. Okay.
Yeah, when I backed I had a Triton and backed that into the wall. I was looking around for another Triton to swap things around. I couldn't find anything that was really worth trying to use. So, right. We go to Myrtle Beach in the month of May, vacation a lot, and that's where Charger is, right there in Myrtle Beach. So
right.
I've been to the shop a few times, and when it came time for a chassis, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna call Boomer and saying, hey, what do you have, and what can we put together, and et cetera, and and he hooked me up. We went down there, and I drove down and picked it up, and I don't need an excuse to drive to Myrtle Beach.
Rob, yeah, of course. Why not, right?
I don't need any excuse. I'll go there in a heartbeat. But yes. So I went down and picked it up, and picked up a load of tires on the way back of Reapers, and made a nice trip out of it, and then put it together here. So and I like it. So it's got a lot of front end bite, which is nice. It really is a nice front end bite.
Jody says, sometimes you got to go slow to go fast. I don't race, but that's the best advice I've heard. Almost open carts, and that is true. I mean, sometimes
you just got to
sometimes you got to slow down.
Slow down to go fast, because if you put it in the corner, you are going to be hanging on coming off, and you're just going to lose so much time. So it's very, actually this past week was probably more emphasis on slow down and go faster.
Before we let you go, again, thank you so much for being on the show.
This is cool.
It's awesome, right? I'm telling you.
Cool.
Just wait until tomorrow when everybody watches it and starts blowing you up, going, "Dude, I saw you." You look. It's way cool to sit there and showcase you guys. Not only for the Grand Nationals, but and this is the type of thing that we love to do, and we say this over and over again. That's our whole motto: is we showcase people that people don't know, and it's not because they don't know. It's just because our go-karting or whatever is so. I mean, unless you're Becky, is what people don't know you, and that's the thing, is that it's just. You guys deserve the same recognition as anybody else, and if we can be just a little bit a part of that to kind of see who you are. At the end of the day, when you're out there racing, it's somebody that that if we're cheering for, it's something that we can sit there and go, man, Rich is this, and he did this, and he went down to Myrtle Beach, and I know who this guy is. Might not know you personally, but have that something in common.
Instead of who's that guy,
Yeah. I mean, everybody underneath the helmet is just somebody, but to put a face or a story with that person is amazing to us. And that's a lot of the feedback and stuff that we get from, from people is that, hey, thank you so very much for putting, like my son on or my daughter on or whatever, it made her day, or, friends at school or, hey, coworkers and stuff are watching like, hey, Rich, you're on TV, but I mean, it's just cool. And it's just that warm feeling to be able to sit there and have, and we couldn't do this without you guys, realistically. I mean, we do this because of you guys.
It's definitely cool. And it's just like you said, just to get to know. It's even good for the drivers to get to know who they're racing.
Absolutely.
It's because it's one thing about this Grand National deal. I mean, you're going to see the game that a lot of people spend the time and money to do, and
all day long.
Just get to see where you rank in the realm of it.
Yeah.
It's you start running any kind of national things, you get educated. You're going to
get the best of the best, just like who we were talking to.
You can be the hot shoe at your local track, and then all of a sudden now you're the little goldfish in the bowl.
And we're just talking. Yeah, we were just talking about that, off camera and stuff. Is that's the reason why this person wants to come back there, is because they're extremely fast where they're from, but have absolutely zero clue on what they're coming to right now. Yeah. And that's the thing. Jody's awesome. I absolutely love this lady. She goes, Rich on the cover of Muscle Cart. We'll have to talk to Mark Bartfeld to see if we can get you on the cover of Muscle Cart magazine. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Holding that trophy, man. I mean, it could be, what would it mean to you? Not only making the show, that's one thing, but what would it mean to you if you sat there and you won the Grand National this year?
All the work and education I've learned in racing across the years paid off at that moment. That's what it would be.
Yeah.
It's what works, what don't work, and bringing the education from all the different other lines of racing involved, but karting's it's different, modifieds aren't the same as sprint cars aren't the same as go-karts, and go-karts aren't the same as anything else,
Yeah.
So, but just doing the different things across the years, but the one common denominator is all the people were pretty cool. I mean,
and that's the thing is that
if you need help, I don't care what sport you're in, across the years of all the different racing I've done, this guy might have taken you out last week, but, all of a sudden now you need a rear. That rear is sitting there to put in your car, what's on the track and what's off the track are two different things in every sport, but for the most part, everybody's there to promote the sport and to help each other. And that's what's cool.
That's the biggest thing that we've heard about at Hunterstown, is that not only Ron does so much for the racers, does so much for the track and everything else or whatever, but just the hospitality that Hunterstown shows, especially some of the youth and just across the board, racers helping racers. That's the biggest thing, off camera when we talk about like, okay, what's the biggest thing about Hunterstown that you like? And it's literally, people say it's the camaraderie. It's the people that are there, and across the board, no matter where we go, karting to me has always been that, that family, that sport that we can sit there and none of us are millionaires. I mean, maybe some of us are, but we're not doing this. Yeah, we're not doing this to become millionaires. We're doing this as a glorified hobby to turn around and go round in circles.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's realistically. Now, some of the youth, this is a good stepping stone into something, that could brighten their future and take them off into a career. And hopefully they look back at it and go, hey, this is where I started, but at the end of the day, if we could sit there and go out, have fun, and then turn around and go have a beer or a Coke or whatever like that with your neighbor and sit there and go, that was fun.
Well,
that's what karting to me is about.
and it's you get to the track and you see everybody, and before things get going, and while you're not too crazy trying to okay, how am I going to get pick up a little speed here or something like that,
Right.
I mean, that's when all the fellowship is, so that's and that's cool, just to have those, and I mean lasting friendships. I mean, years and years, lasting friendships. That's,
Yep, absolutely.
It's just cool. It's cool.
Before we let you go, talk about some of the people that help you go around the circles.
Oh my, Ron's a big help. My oldest son, Michael. Actually, all my boys pitch in when they can if they're not working or something, and the support my wife has to me, for doing this, because over the years, a lot of the modified stuff years ago, I wasn't home enough, and that played a lot into the marriage. Part of the move was, I'm going to do this. Are you coming? That's up to you.
Right.
Get it out of that, because it was, consuming my life where it wasn't with the family, so the move down here changed that, but to have her support into doing it now, what I'm doing, that's just huge. You can't do it when half of the team doesn't want to do it, so when everybody's in the
absolutely
age, it works a whole bunch better. So.
Well, Ron, you have been so humble, and I'm glad that we've got that, got that personal time and stuff that we were able to share an hour with you. You're definitely one of the people and stuff that was on our bucket list to talk to. You come highly recommended at 60 plus years old, still running out there in the UAS. One of the guys to beat every single weekend. We wish you a ton of luck at the road to the Grand Nationals. Of course, we're going to be there live on Dirt 360 TV. More information and stuff here in the next couple of weeks are coming out with that. Anything else you want to end with, Ron, Rich, before we let you go?
No, we're running a big track this week.
Where are you running at?
BAP Speedway, which is actually 20 minutes from home, but it's a half-mile track, a half-mile streetcar track. So we've run there before, and it's 100 plus mile an hour there in the
Jesus
UAS.
Christ! I mean,
So and it's funny because my cart has the front and rear spoilers on it. And when I first went there the very first time, it about halfway down the straightaway, I felt it hook onto the right rear and actually kind of steer off to the right, pretty much what a sprint car will do,
right.
Wing in it. And I felt that in the cart. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting that. You really was. I mean, I knew what to do, but I just wasn't expecting it in the cart. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got to pull some of the wing out of this.
the downforce and the G-force were like that stuff's real.
Yeah. It's you're going down a straightaway at that kind of speed, and the go-kart, it kind of hooks right. You're like, whoa. But, that's cool. So we're doing that that's this Saturday, and then so that's going to be cool.
Well, we wish you a ton of luck. It's only, it's less than a month away, man, and it's here. It's coming fast.
It is.
We're getting our September tickets and stuff tonight. All of our hotels and car rentals and all that type of stuff or whatever. So we look definitely forward to seeing you and seeing all you guys and stuff there at the track too.
Yeah.
It's gonna be it's gonna be one of those things that is definitely a bucket list. Back in 2018, I heard about Hunterstown. Definitely want to go there. We've seen a ton of that stuff. Of course online. And now we're, privileged to be back there and to film it for everybody at home too. So, Ron, Ron, keep on getting wrong because I'm looking at the notes. Rich, don't go nowhere. Stay there. I'm gonna take you off or whatever like that. We're gonna go to our ending credits. Everybody at home, thank you guys so very much. Road to the Grand Nationals here in August 19th. right here on Dirt 360 TV. And of course, September 16th, the UAS Grand Nationals there at Hunterstown Speedway. Man, it is going to be awesome. If you guys have any questions, comments, something like that, definitely make sure you sit there and post on this, share it, and all that kind of good stuff. Until next time, next Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern time, we're going to have the man himself, Ron Pritt, on, and then we're going to schedule, of course, Mr. Mike Lane when we can get some free time for him also, because he's extremely busy. So with that being said, guys, we'll see you guys. See ya.